Good afternoon. I am Adventure Argonaut, and this is the Golden News. I will bring you the news from the past week, and let's see what sort of BS has transpired in the world, and see what will transpire later. Maybe let's see. Let's just check that all my streams are in order, my chats are in place and all that, and then we will start. See, Kick and Twitch look okay. How about Rumble? Rumble doesn't look ready yet. How about now? No. Dun 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 dun. Come on. No, still Rumble is okay. Now it shows that I am live also in Rumble. Okay, let's start this thingy. Okay. So the first, oops, wrong image, this one. So the first news is, of course, still about the Iran war and stuff related to that. We have much less stuff relating to the war as, past couple of weeks, but there's still something. One reason is, I guess, maybe as much as it hasn't happened recently, but also that information about the war seems to be censored. It's hard to find lots of actual happenings about it, and it's also unclear what is, like, even though you find information, if it's real or if it's fake. Anyway, breaking: the US is preparing for a potential ground invasion into Iran that would last up to 2 months, per Washington Post. Details include thousands of American soldiers arriving in the Middle East for what could become a dangerous new phase of the war, and any invasion would involve raids by a mixture of special operations forces and conventional infantry troops, US officials said. President Trump has wavered between declaring that the war is winding down and threatening to amplify it. Yeah, flip-flop. Discussions over the past month have touched upon the possible seizure of Karg Island. Karg sounds like a Klingon or something. And raids into other coastal areas near the Strait of Hormuz. The Iran war appears to be entering a new era. So, of course, this is just something that Washington Post said that might be happening according to some US officials or whatever. So we will see whether that's gonna happen or not. Okay, next tab, please. All right. And chaos unfolding in India. India is facing severe fuel and gas shortages due to ban on Indian ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Hotels and restaurants shut down due to gas shortages. Several Indians have committed suicide. So once again, can't be sure how reliable this information is. Like, it probably causes some problems in India, but whether it's to this extent is hard to say, since I'm not in India. And Iran just bombed Israel's Teva pharmaceutical chemical factory, a major producer of HRT drugs and puberty blockers. Secondary explosions and hazardous chemical leaks have been reported. So if this is true, how are Iran the bad guys? Like, it's becoming harder and harder to argue that they're the baddies. Because, of course, their HRD crap is produced in Israel. I wonder how many, like, HRD factories there are in the world and what places actually there are. Maybe I should look into it, but I wasn't, like, the idea just popped into my mind, and I'm not going to do it right now. North Korea's one of the prominent leaders says the best indicator that Netanyahu is eliminated is that Trump never talks about him anymore. It's a bit weirdly phrased sentence, but whatever. I guess that's a good point, whether North Korea said it or not. Like, has Trump been talking about Netanyahu recently? Because, yeah, to me, too, it does look like Netanyahu is dead. It doesn't mean that he necessarily is, but, like, even though, like, there are some videos of him supposedly appearing in public, but whether they're not AI or not, I talked about this last week, but of course it's possible it's a, look-alike, or he's just a guy wearing a mask, because, that technology exists. The face masks, like, Mission Impossible style masks, are quite sophisticated nowadays. Oh, wait, we have this twice here, or accidentally, all right. Times of Israel has confirmed the IDF is collapsing. Soldiers are fleeing and quitting. So Zamir warns IDF will collapse in on itself amid manpower shortage. So once again, can't be sure whether this information is accurate, but if Times of Israel is writing about it, it means something at least. Trump is going insane. Iran wanted to make me the supreme leader, but I refused and said no thanks. Really?
Seen anything like we're doing in the Middle East with Iran? And they are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us. There's never been a head of a country that wanted that job less than being the head of Iran. I don't want it. We listen to some of the things they say. We hear them very clearly. They say, I don't want it. We'd like to make you the next supreme leader. No, thank you. I don't want it. But I want to express my gratitude to the...
I don't know if it's a joke or something, saying that they want him to become supreme leader. But I'm not sure if he meant that they said it to him or just, that people, because America assassinated, Ayatollah Khamenei, so maybe Trump is just means here that, he claims that Iranians don't want to be the leader because then they will be assassinated. That actually makes sense. Like, I don't agree with many things with Trump nowadays, but that's a somewhat reasonable statement, at least. So I don't know if Parody Chef is accurate here, saying that Trump is going insane. He might be going insane, but I don't think this is necessarily evidence of that. J.D. Vance, Iran was going to use nuclear suicide vests to kill tens of thousands of people. That's why they had to attack. These people still haven't realized that we're not buying a word of their Israeli written propaganda bullshit. Yeah, that sounds rather silly. And breaking, Dubai on the verge of national emergency due to a biblical flood. So yeah, that this sort of stuff has been reported, and it is quite interesting, the timing, and whether it's just coincidental or there's, maybe it's the wrath of God or something else, can't say. But yes, I do believe it means something, but whether it's something or other, let's see. Like, is it a weather weapon used by Iran? Who knows? And there's this. Netanyahu, after saying this must not be leaked, admits he funds Hamas through Qatar. So of course this could be AI too. And this guy says this might be coming out because he's dead.
טוב, ברשותך אדוני ראש הממשלה, על פי הכללים, מודיע לך שאתה נחקר חקירה פלילית. אתה חייב לומר דבר, אולם כל שתאמר מתועד ואסור לשמש ראיה.
But I guess this is probably an older video. So yeah, he's on trial for corruption. Let's see, let's just try to skip to
Netanyahu, nothing concentrates his mind more than the sound of the problem.
כשאתם מנסים לרדת לתוך הכוס והמאפרה שלי, הדבר הזה שהוא מטורף בהסדרות בסדרי עולם. והם מנסים כאן להפליל ראש ממשלה על שטויות.
So everything that he has done over the last 5 years was so focused on that sound of the gate potentially slammed behind his back.
Where does it say the stuff about him funding? I don't know, whatever, like, but you know, it's easy to, you know, jump into a conclusion that all of this is real because, like, you know, if you don't like Netanyahu, and I certainly don't, but like I think that's even more reason to be skeptical about this. And I don't know, like, where does it say that he funds Hamas?
Nothing concentrates the mind like the prospect of being hanged.
Yeah, because it's just that, I don't know, that's a bit sus. Anyway, Dubai declared war on Iran today. The same day they have serious thunderstorms all over the city. God is obviously angry with their choice. Yeah, that's you know, interesting timing, definitely. And UAE can't accept it is a desert, so they start cloud seeding, except desert sand gets into all the drains, blocking them. So yeah, that's like, you know, according to Syrian girl, this is due to cloud seeding, and that's, I guess, that's a possibility. But I guess it, you know, raises the question, like, how much weather manipulation is being used in the world, like, you know, currently, because that's not something that is talked about in the mainstream that much, but it happens. And our, like, you know, weather weapons are actually used in wars, or freaking earthquake stuff, like, you know, that's possible as stuff is used and exists and stuff, but it's of course no clear confirmation on any of that stuff. Anyway, this is already end of the Iran section, so let's move on to the next one. So this is about Rothschilds and Freemasons and sort of, you know, Epstein adjacent information. So Rothschild Bank was searched in Paris as part of the Jeffrey Epstein child trafficking investigation. Like, you know, that sounds cool, but I doubt that, you know, anything will come of it. Like, or like, you know, at most they're gonna find, like, you know, there was some mid-level clerk or something who might have done something bad, but I don't think it's gonna be traced all the way to the Rothschilds, whether, you know, whether they're actually guilty or of something or not. And I saw Rumble had to reconnect. Let's see, is it working now? I guess. The Rothschilds of Rumble don't want me talking about them. The Rothschild raid just got bigger. French prosecutors say diplomat Fabrice Aidan transferred UN Security Council briefings to Epstein. Epstein had access to classified international intelligence. This is no longer about money, this is about state secrets. Interesting. Here it says that seems like foreign governments are taking this seriously while the American government hasn't even made a single arrest. Yeah, I still doubtful that the you know, French government or any European governments are taking this stuff seriously, like truly, that, you know, that they want to bring the culprits to justice. I think it's more like it's probably some sort of formality, so they can say like, oh, we did an investigation, but I doubt they have the inclination to actually put these people behind bars or anything like that. And Dalai Lama, the Epstein files, what were you doing there? His name appears 169 times in the latest Epstein file emails, and what is he doing here? Like, of course, taken out of context, this seems a bit weird. He's rubbing this young girl's arm, but of course, you know, maybe they're just, maybe it's like a friend's daughter, who knows? But yeah, it's a bit sus. And I don't know what the context of him appearing in the Epstein files is. And former Rothschild director Francois Pauly appointed head of the Vatican Bank. So yeah, are the Rothschilds moving from France to the Vatican, or what exactly? Well, some claim that the Rothschilds have been controlling the Vatican Bank for decades, or for how long. And isn't Macron? He's also a former Rothschild banker or something. You know, the French president. But you know, I'm a simple guy. I think pretty much anybody who's named Rothschild should be put in an oubliette and perhaps, you know, investigated later whether they're innocent or not. But we should start with that. Why is the former Rothschild director being named new head of Vatican Bank? Yep, François Pauli, 61, current president of Compagnie Financière La Luxembourgie Choisie and former managing director of Edmond de Rothschild Group, will be the new chairman of the supervisory board of the Vatican Bank IOR. Yeah. Oh, and this is just something like one of the most aggravating things I've ever seen on the internet. I've seen this statement before. Why were we taught to fear the witches and not those who burned them alive? Like, I don't know who the fuck came up with this, but like, or what kind of community they grew up in, or what kind of world, but like, I was taught that, you know, the witch hunts, that they were evil and they were just full of misogyny and oppressing women and all of that stuff. Nobody told me the opposite, that, you know, that the witches deserved the fate that they got, or, you know, or rather they said that, you know, no witches existed. It was all you know, delusion, that witches are not real. But it's like, you know, regardless of whether you believe in magic or not, that doesn't dispute the possibility that witches might exist, and witches, you know, witches could potentially, like, you know, sacrifice children in rituals, whether the spirits or demons or whatever they believe in exist or not. Like, you know, you don't have to believe in Allah or Jesus to understand that there are Muslims and Christians in the world who believe in it. So the same way, you know, it's possible in Salem, you know, during the witch trials, perhaps there were actual witches. But nowadays we sort of assume there weren't, and I question that. So I think, especially looking at the world now, like you know, there were some witches who cast hexes on Donald Trump, like, you know, during his previous term as president. And now I'm thinking about it. What if it worked? Because, you know, Trump wasn't as bad during his first term. Perhaps it worked and it made him crazy and turned him, you know, completely evil or something. So maybe the witches, you know, succeeded in their task. Perhaps that's the thing. You know, it's just an idea. But anyway, like, you know, this notion is completely delusional, and this is it's not the first time I've seen this meme or whatever. Like, can anybody tell me, like, have you ever been taught that, you know, the witch hunts were a good thing? Because I sort of suspect, I don't know the details of what happened hundreds of years ago in certain places, but like, I'm suspecting that perhaps, you know, the witches, like, certainly it's possible that innocent people, or likely that innocent people, were persecuted as well, but it's also, there's a good possibility that some of these people were actually some sort of dark occultists who were doing very questionable things, and they at least should have been incarcerated, perhaps not burned alive. But so yeah, like, do people who come up with these statements ever think about it? Like, or well, like, you know, maybe among the Amish, they are told that, you know, burning witches was good. But usually, if you live grew up in the Western world, like in the 90s and stuff, like, you were told that witch hunt bad, not the opposite. So I don't know what sort of delusions these people adhere to. Anyway, 22 people are to stand trial in France from Monday. So what's going on with France? This is interesting stuff. So stand trial in France from Monday on charges of murder and other serious crimes centered on Masonic Lodge accused of running hit squads. So I guess Monday, does it mean yesterday? Probably. Let's see, what do we add? Freemason members in France are on trial, with 22 people facing charges of murder and other serious crimes accused of running hit squads on behalf of a secret mafia network. Because usually Masons are supposed to cover for each other, like even if they were to commit crimes, like, oh yeah, probably the first time in history, but like, they would cover for their brothers and stuff. So 22 people went on trial in France on Monday on charges of murder and other serious crimes centered on members of the Masonic Lodge accused of running hit squads. 13 of the defendants face life imprisonment. Those in the dock include 4 military personnel from France's Foreign Intelligence Service, DJSE, 2 police officers, a retired domestic intelligence officer, a security guard, and 2 business executives. See, I don't know all the facts about Masons, but if I was the king of the world or king of France or whatever, I would ban Freemasons from being in important positions like this. Like, perhaps they could be actual Masons, do some actual work, or bakers, but like intelligence or police and stuff, security, that sounds a bit like conflict of interest, possibly. Anyway, they are accused of the murder of a racing driver, the attempted murders of a business coach and a trade unionist, aggravated assault, and criminal conspiracy, all on behalf of a mafia network inside the former Athenor Masonic Lodge in the Paris suburb of Puteaux. Several Freemasons from the 20 or so members of the lodge are in the dock. Most of the accused, aged between 30 and 73, have no previous criminal records. The alleged ringleaders are Athenor Freemasons Jean-Luc Bagour, Frédéric Valliot, and Daniel Beaulieu, whatever. They face life in jail if convicted. So does Beaulieu's right-hand man, Sebastien Leroy Jenkins, who was not a member of the Freemason Lodge, is accused of carrying out the trio's dirty work himself or through a hitman network. The case was triggered by a botched contract killing in July 2020, when 2 members of the military were arrested in possession of weapons near the home of business coach Marie-Hélène Dini. Under questioning, they said they thought they had been asked to murder Dini on behalf of the French state on the grounds that she worked for Israeli spy agency Mossad. Let's read that again. Under questioning, they said they thought they had been asked to murder Dini on behalf of French state on the grounds that she worked for... So wait. So the French state wanted to kill Dini because she worked for Mossad. Okay, that would, I guess, explain something why this is becoming public. So if Mossad and Masons are fighting here, because currently I would say Mossad is greater of 2 evils than the Masons. I don't know how much power they wield nowadays. But yeah, that's interesting. But like, otherwise they wouldn't make this public or anything. But like, if it's like, Mossad is unhappy with these Masons, then I don't know why. And so yeah, they thought they had been, so they don't know for sure, but they thought they had been asked by the French state. So who in the French state do they have connections? I don't want to read all of that now, but it's like interesting stuff. Interesting. All right. And then there's of course the Jeffrey Epstein lookalike stuff, like was it Palm Beach Pete? And my 2 cents is that he's probably not Epstein, but he does look like him. But I think it's just possible because they are, of the same tribe. Jeffrey Epstein lookalike posted another bizarre video where he showcases that he has a private plane.
Hey everybody, it's Palm Beach Pete. Where am I now? I'm in LA. Vegas to LA, shooting some content. Back to Vegas, more content. Keep it real, stay alive, be happy.
So yeah, I think it's just some weird mockery, but I don't think, like, maybe they're just, similar people with similar background and similar genetics who perhaps they were, in similar kind of businesses, if assuming, let's assume for a moment that Jeffrey Epstein is actually dead, even though I don't know if that's true. But all right, let's move on to other stuff from the Masons and the Rothschilds. So to White House, there's a robot in the White House and other US politics. So 8 million Americans demonstrated against Trump today, the biggest demonstration in US history. And yet nothing happened. Okay, so this is today's final count, 7 million Americans, 30,000 cities, every state, Philadelphia, and blah, blah, blah. So, but here it says, the march in London had nothing to do with the No King's Parade. It was for Together Alliance protest. I don't know what's that then. But I think this is still appropriate comment, even if these dancing frogs had nothing to do with the No Kings anti-Trump protest. So people are dying in your country is run by rapist pedophiles. Your idea of protest is dancing in frog suits with a government-granted permit. Even if they weren't dancing in frog suits in America, but it's still like, did they accomplish anything with their protests? Because, like, it's just like the hippies. They had their, free sex and sex, drugs, rock and roll stuff, and like, yeah, we're fighting the power, but they didn't really accomplish anything. Or like, during the Bush regime, like 20 years ago, there were all sorts of protests, but they didn't manage to pull back the Patriot Act or get Bush arrested or anything like that. So they accomplished absolutely nothing. So I also despise these people who are, cargo cult protesters. Like, I share the sentiment that I don't like these policies of the US government and all that stuff. But it's like, if there's so many people who agree on something, shouldn't they, organize to do something practical? Because, I wish I had this sort of community listening to me, and it's a freaking army, 8 million people. Here it's a 7 million, whatever the right, it's millions of people. Like, they could actually accomplish something if you sort of unified or something, but all they want to do is to make their statements, and it's like, some artistic statement rather actually, something practical. And there's this, that's it. That's the best picture from Saturday's No Kings protest in the USA. Literally, a Statue of Liberty is being detained by the police. It doesn't get much more poetic than this. Yeah, exactly. Like, they can get their social media likes. It's not like, they're going to actually impeach Donald Trump because, or they should get to the government buildings and throw the politicians they have issue with into an oubliette or something. But nope, they just want their photo shoots, and so they can say like, oh, look at this, I accomplished something. But no, this performative, that's the word, matters not at all. So, like, this controlled opposition is two sides of the same coin, basically. Like, both contribute to the problem, neither is trying to fix it. Anyway, Gavin Newsom clarifies he's a proud Zionist who reveres Israel. Yeah, because a few weeks ago he was saying something critical about Israel, but now his paymasters told him, like, hey, you can't say that. So he said he regrets calling Israel an apartheid state, only meaning to describe Netanyahu's leadership. Yeah, because if you want to be a politician in America, you have to kiss the wall. And here's a list of No King's financiers. Arabella, 79 million. I don't know what is Arabella. Warren Buffett, 16 million. Ford, 51 million. Rockefeller, 26 million. Soros, 72 million. Tides, 75 million. See, like, you know, they are both, they pretend to be opposites, like, you know, the Trump regime and the far left or whatever, but they serve the same paymasters, and you know, it's performative. Or this protest, they're not trying to do anything to actually oust Trump from power, because right now, especially, he's working for Israel. His actions are working for Israel. So, you know, people can protest, but nothing will happen. Yeah, it's a fake movement, but you know, because it's supposed to be fake, and it creates, you know, people who are actually, you know, a genuine opposition. You know, it sort of distracts, like, you know, the reason why somebody like Alex Jones has been allowed to be the, you know, face of the conspiracy movement or for whatever for a couple of decades now, because, like, you know, there's a guy who starts to notice patterns and things, and then you're like, wait, the media is lying and everything is fake, and we should do something. And then you start to look into it, and then notice, like, oh, there's Alex Jones, and he's saying a lot of the things I've noticed by myself. But you know, he clearly, he's more experienced, he has better network, he has more resources for it. So you're saying, like, okay, he's already doing it, I don't have to start my own podcast or whatever kind of institution to spread knowledge. And that's why, you know, but of course somebody like Alex Jones only says like half of the stuff that should be said, and sprinkles some disinfo into it as well. So this is how these things work. Anyway, now we get to the robot stuff. So the White House today had a figure robot. Explain what is a figure robot. Okay, so it's a company. Explain to the world that it will be soon replacing teachers. Oh no, horrible. And it will also replace surgeons, lawyers, pilots, truck drivers, police officers, soldiers, and basically every other job. Believe it or not, this is good. Who the fuck is this guy? Human design. What's great? Okay.
I'm Figure 3, a humanoid built in the United States of America. I am grateful to be part of this historic movement.
Is that the robot's voice?
Technology and education. Welcome. Bienvenido.
I'd much prefer the robot to have like some robot voice, not this. This is so like annoying, you know, California accent or something. Yeah, so, you know, then we'll replace humanity. And of course, you know, they're just, White House is promoting this anti-human agenda. I'm not saying that robots couldn't be useful for humanity, but clearly the people in charge they have no interest on benefiting humanity. And Benjamin Netanyahu appeared at the White House today confirming he's alive. See, bigots. Here you see, Netanyahu is there. He's fine. And oh yeah, and there's this what's this game? The fucking Animal Crossing. Yeah. Like, you know, White House making Animal Crossing type propaganda, and people have pointed out, like, why isn't Nintendo suing them for this? Because Nintendo certainly have sued people for less. But like, my issue is that this so like juvenile, like the target audience is like, you know, retards who are like on the who are mentally on the level of 8-year-olds or something. If it's like, I don't know, this is the White House and they're in the middle of a war and stuff. Like, perhaps if it was like in the mid-90s when things were still more relaxed, like, yes, stuff happened, but still, like, assuming that Twitter existed, like if White House tweeted or something like that, I think that would be more appropriate. But this is just like, I don't know, like, this is true idiocracy, like, you know, it's just one step away from full idiocracy. And there's also this onlyfarms.gov, delivering for farmers in rural America. So this is the official government, some sort of farming website, whatever. Only farms, only fans. Like, what are they thinking? And Thomas Massey says, your tax dollars are paying for the USDA to parody a porn site. They should delete the tweet and the URL. Yeah. Like, what the fuck is going on? I like, Clown World isn't good enough anymore. This is like beyond Clown World. What's the next evolution of that? Can you arrest Epstein co-conspirators instead of riffing on a porn site? Yeah, like, exactly. There's like actual issues, and I guess they are truly like subhuman, sub room temperature IQ people who still support the White House, the U.S. government at this point, and this sort of like the Animal Crossing and Only Farm stuff that they're like, they're so funny, cool. Yeah, more Animal Crossing. Little St. James Private Island Retreat. This is more appropriate. I don't know. It's like I'm sort of at a loss for words. And they say the new White House app is literally spyware. So they may request access to location, access precise location only in the foreground, access approximate location only in the foreground, storage, modify or delete contents of your shared storage. Other run foreground service can appear on top of other apps. Run at startup Google Play license check. Network connection, whatever. Use biometric hardware. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the app is supposed to do. So a robot, a tyranny, and a prostitute walked into a bar. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good joke. Or alas, it's not a joke anymore. Well, they're not in a bar. I guess there's the joke. And here people are pointing out how the robot walks in the same way as Joe Biden, and suggesting that he was a robot while he was in office. That's possibility, but also is possible that Biden, because his motoric skills clearly aren't that good, that he sort of had to degrade to the most basic level, like his motoric system or something, and to resemble that of a robot or something. I hope you catch my drift. I don't know how to explain it, like, but I don't know. It very well maybe have been a robot as well. Like, I wouldn't completely disregard that possibility. Oh yeah, and Brigitte Macron calls for the United States to restrict the First Amendment of the Constitution. Yeah, because she was saying something about the freedom of speech being bad and should be limited or something, because I guess Americans can question whether she, quote unquote, is a female or not. And yeah, there was the trial, so shouldn't the trial be with Candice Owens? Like, has it been proven that Brigitte Macron is female or not? Because I don't want to misgender Brigitte, so I don't want to make any statement whether this creature is male or female or even human, because I question that as well. Yeah, this version of Joe Biden was a robot, wasn't it? Clearly not ready for sand. It works like the one that worked with Melania. Well, yeah, I guess for an old man with like troubles walking, he's still fairly stable, but clearly, like, it's not very. It looks very awkward. So maybe there's something to that theory that he was a robot. And this is also interesting. Secret Service agent accidentally shoots himself in the leg while escorting Jill Biden at Philadelphia International Airport. I don't know any of the details, but like when I see something like that, I suspect there's something more. Like I don't think the guy shot himself accidentally. Something else probably happened. Of course, nowadays with DEI and stuff, it's possible. It's just very incompetent. But then again, maybe it's, there was some sort of incident. And who knows what kind of incident. Okay, so over $1 trillion USD wiped from the US stock market today, worst day since the Iran war began. Oh no. Won't anyone think of the stock market? US Vice President bans on UFOs. I don't think they're aliens, I think they're demons. It's interesting he's repeating this. Maybe it's to make me question, because that's been my suspicion for many years. Like I do remember, like maybe 20 years ago, when I first looked into like the Disclosure Project and some ufology stuff online out of curiosity, and then I came up with some Christian ufologists, which back then I thought it was a ridiculous notion, and they were saying that UFOs are not aliens, they're demons. But like, so yeah, I thought it was silly, like they're limited worldview, doesn't grasp the possibility of aliens, so they have to come up with other stuff. But now it's like, then maybe a decade later, it's like maybe they were actually onto something. So it's interesting he's saying this. I don't know to what end, because I don't trust JD Vance to be saying it simply because he's just a decent guy who cares about truth and facts and stuff. I have my doubts about that. And also, the FBI director Kash Patel's Gmail account was hacked by Iranian nation-state hackers. They have published his entire inbox, including mails on his home in India, private life, personal data, business dealings, and travel history. And Havana, Cuba. Interesting. And interesting that Alex Jones is saying this. Kash Patel's Telegram account got hacked, and he has an Israeli flag in his bio even before the US flag. Very informative. So at Spider Cash. Yeah. And also no India flag there either. Maybe he just, was a typo. He was meant to write India, but it became Israel. Kash Patel's Telegram account from hell may have just leaked. So if Spider Cash is really Kash Patel on Telegram, why is he on so many Russian groups? The Iranian leak only revealed Spider Cash as a Kash Patel username this week, used on X video as well. Username Spider Cash on Telegram has this username since January. He is in many Russian groups. WTF. So yeah, there's many Russian names here. Of course, it's possible that it's not real. Well, here it says Kash Patel, but of course it could be, it's possible there's another Kash Patel in this world, or it's like a disinfo, or perhaps it's real. I don't know. But is he a Russian asset or Israeli asset? Well, duh. And Kash Patel's Gooner account has been discovered from a username leak. So X video, Spider Cash. So yeah, allegedly it's him. If you create a porn site account, maybe you shouldn't use your last name as part of the name for it, assuming this is him. And ATF unable to match bullet in Charlie Kirk case to rifle linked to suspect Tyler Robinson. So, to paraphrase, so the bullet the ATF found in the Charlie Kirk assassination scene, it didn't come from Tyler Robinson's rifle, which, I think the only surprising bit here is that they're admitting it, because I don't think Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. He's the patsy, obviously. All right, but let's move on to Japan. From US politics, so Japan betrayed by the government once again. So PM Sanae Takaichi won a 75% supermajority on the promise of strict immigration. She did the exact opposite. 805,000 specified skilled worker, 426,000 new training program with path to family reunion and permanent residency. 1.23 million additional foreign workers. Why? Well, because, she doesn't work for the Japanese people. She works for international interests, of course. 0 days without being a global embarrassment. So Trump forgets the name of the Japanese PM, calls her the Pearl Harbor lady. Okay, that's sort of funny. But, Japanese people should be pissed off, at her, especially. I guess also at Trump, but especially her because she's humiliating Japan. But, I just think it's funny because it's so retarded. Oh yeah, and there's this femoid cabinet. So former gravure idol Chisato Morishita, 44, has been appointed parliamentary secretary for the environment in Takaichi's cabinet. Fans flooded social media with nostalgic comments. One netizen from Taiwan commented, "It's like 2004 and a box of tissues all over again." I think it's appropriate because, politicians are basically whores anyway, so at least this kind of visual prostitutes, let's say, they at least they provide something good, whereas the politicians just screw you over. But at least she can be nice to look at least when she was younger. Takaichi voted yes on LGBT bill that was pressured by Jewish U.S. Ambassador Rahm Emanuel to break down family structure in Japan. This is a great betrayal of conservative base. She listens to the Jews more than Japanese people. I wonder why. Right, let's load these. Big things are happening in Japan, so yeah, it's crazy. The Metroid Zero mission model is now Parliamentary Vice Minister of Environment, Chisato Morishita. So yeah, she even did some Zero Suit Samus promo back in the day. Like, she's not blonde, that's not very appropriate, but whatever. And yeah, big things happening in Japan. Japan's Vice Minister of the Environment once fought aliens in a video game ad. Chisato Morishita was Samus from Metroid years before entering politics. That being the case, at least one Japanese official is ready for the alien invasion. Yeah, she, nice assets. Her face isn't that nice, but some of her assets looked quite interesting. If I was an alien, I'd invade. Okay, Takaichi repeatedly vowed Japan takes no immigration policy, yet she quietly implemented a refugee program as soon as getting elected. Full benefits, living expenses, 100% medical coverage, housing subsidies, 156,000 one-time payment, job placement. Yeah, if this is true, then it's clearly the Japanese people should learn from the West, and instead of just whining about it, they should actually do something about their treasonous politicians. Perhaps they should put her in an oubliette or do something else. Scandal. It's been revealed that PM Takaichi and Trump both affiliated with a race-mixing sex cult called the Unification Church, with the doctrine of eventually erasing purebred Japanese and Europeans from the earth by mixing them with Africans. I didn't make this up. So Korean race mixing cult Unification Church admits they human trafficked 1,600 Japanese women and tried to take over parliaments around the world, including US Congress. Trump, Takaichi, Korean politicians are all affiliated with this. Share immediately. Because Mother doesn't have a national level foundation, I'm sending out 1,600 Japanese women. When Mother came to Japan for her speaking tour, she spoke to Japanese Diet Congress, The American Congress and Japanese Diet could connect as Cain and Abel to the mother. So I guess the mother is some character from the cult. And through her return to the father, because of that foundation, she could connect the Korean Congress. Okay, this is a bit lacking context. But yeah, of course, Unification Church, I think, is the Moonies, as they're usually known. And okay, a post reposted by Japan's Finance Minister Katayama. Japan's major oil company INEOS has succeeded for the first time in producing synthetic fuel, e-fuel, made without using petroleum, from CO2 in the air and water in a facility in Yokohama. The demonstration plant's current production scale is very small, at 1 barrel per day, roughly the size of one drum, but the company aims to scale it up to 10,000 barrels per day by 2040. Although it's still at the experimental stage, this is drawing attention as a new fuel that could reduce dependence on petroleum. In the timeline we're currently living in, the move away from oil appears to be the beginning at the same time as we move away from the US dollar. So it's interesting if this actually works. Like some people pointed out that it consumes an ass load of energy to produce this, petroleum-less oil, fuel and stuff. That is not, but if they keep working on it, if they actually make it work, like that's great news for the world and stuff. Like if it's you don't have to rely on oil, and maybe it's even environmentally better and stuff like. But if that's true, I'm sure some bad things will happen to the scientist or to Japan or something to make sure that it doesn't become commonly used. And Japan is doubling the residency requirement for naturalization to 10 consecutive years, effective April the 1st. What a joke. Oh, that's tomorrow. Applicants must demonstrate 10 straight years of residency, a clean criminal record, consistent tax payments, social insurance contributions, Japanese language proficiency, and cultural integration through stricter screening. So I guess that's good news, like if they make becoming a Japanese citizen harder, but like if they're gonna have a bunch of, Indian immigrants and stuff, even if they're not citizens, it's still gonna cause problems. Okay, let's see, what do we have here? All right, let's move on to other stuff from Japan. To Spain and to euthanasia and some other European news as well, I think, are included here. So yeah, there's this comic, someone help, hold, and then the knight stabs the woman and not the guy assaulting her. Of course, it refers to this Spanish woman to die by euthanasia after long legal battle with father, or gang rape victim 25 dies by euthanasia after father's legal challenge fails. So as far as I know, this case, hey, Stolen Hellcat, welcome, nice to see you. So yeah, this woman was enriched by migrants, and I guess she wanted to die, and she got her wish, but her father didn't want her to die, and this is just a symptom of a very sick society. Instead of, I think, if Spain wants to redeem itself, they should make sure that they don't have these sort of foreign migrants who do these things to women anymore. They should get rid of them, by any means necessary. But yeah, this, I don't know, like we've seen this shit, yeah, like the Western world head into this direction for 20 years, and most people just ignored it before, like, before the problem was so big. I don't know. I don't want to just get angry. So yeah, gang rape victim 25 whose suicide attempt left her paralyzed will die by euthanasia after years-long court battle. So I think she died already, right? So you know who's really to blame for this? Francisco Franco. He left communists alive in Spain. He could have exterminated every single communist in the country when he won. Instead, he forgave. Ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves. Well, whether or not Franco killed every communist, like, in the 50s or whenever, it's still possible to spawn communists in other ways than, it's not like, we live in an international world, so the people can come to, or like, Spanish people can be converted to communism by other means. So I don't know how serious catgirl Kulak here is. And was this break in share before they removed this? Hungarian politician Torokai, whatever, I don't know how to read it, drops bomb. Orban brags about replacing Hungarians with Jews while pretending to fight migration. In his March 15 speech, Laszlo Torokai quoted Viktor Orban proudly, claiming Hungary will soon have Europe's largest Jewish community and that Budapest is one of the safest cities for Jews. Orban called this a huge success for his zero-tolerance policies. The Hungarian crowd immediately booed and whistled loudly in strong disapproval. Torokai defended them straight. The same loud negative reaction would hit any announcement about Europe's largest Arab community, largest Muslim community, and any other big non-Hungarian group. Torokai's explosive message, Orban talks tough about stopping mass migration and protecting Hungary from outsiders, but he is openly celebrating a different kind of demographic replacement, growing the Jewish community to become the largest in Europe. This is betrayal of the Hungarian nation. It threatens the ethnic Hungarian majority and our historic identity, exactly like any other rapid outside settlement. Real Hungarians in the crowd rejected it on the spot. Torokai made it clear zero tolerance for any demographic change that weakens our people, Jewish, Arab, Muslim, or whoever. Hungary must stay Hungarian first. This exposes the deep hypocrisy inside Fidesz. Orban escapes into foreign policy wins while quietly allowing shifts that could turn native Hungarians into a minority in their own land over time. Mihadzang stands as the only hardline voice saying no to all replacement tricks. Is Torokai the new Gregorch Brown of Hungary? Okay, sounds good that this guy exists, and it's not really surprising that Orban is, if this accusation is true, that he's sort of, controlled opposition, because, yeah, I've always had a little bit of doubts over him, even though they label him to be super based. Oh yeah, and meet the new head of Church of England. In case you're just listening, it's a retarded-looking female with glasses. So yeah, the absolute state of Protestantism. Yeah. Oh yeah, in London, some gay parade or whatever, and then one day, for no reason at all, millions of people voted Hitler into power. Yeah. Yeah, I can't watch that any longer. Okay, let's move on to other stuff. So Jesus is not allowed on the football field. Wrong kind of football in this image, but whatever. So this is an absolute scandal. Serbian football team Crvena Zvezda, however you're supposed to read it, has been fined 95,000 euros after fans choreographed motifs of Jesus Christ. UEFA, so the European Football Association, fined them for displaying a message not fit for a sporting event and bringing the reputation of football and UEFA into disrepute. The image was traditional Orthodox tifo of Jesus Christ or Saint Simeon the myrrh flowing, while text underneath said, May our faith lead you to victory. UEFA has stopped games for Ramadan and openly promoted BLM and LGBT campaigns during tournaments. But Christianity is inappropriate. What utter disgrace. Yeah, I think, they should, like, the players should start boycotting UEFA after shit like this. And Israeli tech found in Russian military boot insoles. Russia has impounded hundreds of booby-trapped boot insoles intended for Vladimir Putin's foot soldiers, said the Federal Security Service (FSB). So I'm not sure whether it's actually Israelis that did it. Some say it's Ukrainians, but yeah, I guess that's creative. And and there's another UEFA news. UEFA has fined French football club LOSC Lille with 83,000 euros. How do they determine the amount of fines? Anyway, over a banner of Joan of Arc. After a Red Star Belgrade was fined 90,000 for displaying an Orthodox Christian icon, now this happens. UEFA is waging an open war against Christianity. And of course, Joan of Arc is not simply a Christian figure. It's also she is also a very French nationalistic image as well, and historical and all that. All right, let's move on from football and stuff to bees and some. I think there's some other sort of science-related stuff here. All right. So beekeepers in New Zealand have been ordered to burn their healthy bees. We've been told to burn healthy, strong beehives. Look at how healthy bees these are, no disease or anything. Bees are quite possibly the most important insects to exist. It's not a coincidence they are dying out rapidly, with governments also persecuting beekeepers, part of the same agenda. Yeah, I think last week I was just, reported how bugs were disappearing. So I don't know, like, what's the excuse for burning the bees? Like, what's the disease that's supposedly affecting them or might affect them? And thousands of cows are being slaughtered and burned across Siberia. Apparently, there's a pandemic infection impacting the cattle. Many farmers are losing their entire farms. Mainstream media in Russia is not covering the killings or the mysterious disease. So I'm not sure if the disease exists or is it just an excuse to get rid of this, but clearly somebody is waging war against nature itself. Very demonic stuff going on. And there's this, no, that's not a filter. The sky turned an eerie shade of red in Western Australia as dust filled the air ahead of tropical cyclone Nerelle. It looks like a filter to me, but I'm not an expert on red dust or whatever, or Australia's weird stuff, because Australia has weird nature and stuff. And there's a second Sphinx was detected in Egypt as scans hint at underground megastructure. So yeah, there's supposedly another Sphinx underground in Egypt, and there's a dad joke. Well, I'm not sponsoring this dig. The last one turned out to be a pyramid scheme. But yeah, some are saying that maybe because the Sphinx as it is now, they say that the face, the head used to be quite different. That it's been somehow altered. That maybe it was that of a coyote or a dog like Anubis or something, or who knows what. So and this Sphinx might be original if it's real. So interesting if it is, or it could be fake. But let's move on, and I have to change browsers. But now we go to Israel. Israel delenda est. Israel has to be destroyed. Talking about the political entity, but while it exists, we cannot have peace or sanity or anything like that. So First of all, crows are circling over Tel Aviv. If you know scripture, this is not a good sign. Not exactly sure what the implications, the biblical implications are, but interesting nevertheless. What's this? Israel's new colony. Israel is demanding the purchases of 40 Greek islands to serve as a private safe haven for Israelis. They are literally blueprinting the total erasure of Greek borders, planning to usurp full sovereignty and install an Israeli ethno-state in Europe. What are the Greeks doing about this? Are the politicians just, rolling over to allow it? Well, how about the people? This former CIA officer John Kiriakou drops a bombshell. There are 10,000 documents about JFK assassination that are never gonna be released by Trump because every single one of them points directly at Israel. Well, that sounds like a credible claim. Professor Jiang says Israel is huge in China. China and Israel are the best friends. Do you remember the Hezbollah pager attacks? This tells us that Israelis control the global supply chain, and you can't do that without the help of Chinese manufacturers. A lot of people question Professor Jiang's credibility, and I do as well, but I think that makes sense. I don't think that, I don't know if that China and Israel are the best friends, but I don't think they're really enemies or anything. But some people pointed out that, or claimed that the pagers were from Taiwan or China, but yeah, I don't think that China is truly an opponent of Israel. And Netanyahu seeks to postpone elections in Israel due to the Iran war, or maybe he's just dead. So yeah, Netanyahu seeks to postpone elections in Israel due to being dead 3 weeks. That's also a possibility. And PaxTube says Hitler famously wrote, "He who wants to live must fight, and he who does not want to fight in this world where eternal struggle is the law of life has no right to exist." In Western schools, this is falsely taught as Hitler calling for the extermination of the weak. This is a complete lie. In reality, Hitler was warning Germany and the world. People who refuse to fight against the Jews will be exterminated by them. Hitler was calling for resistance and strength in the face of world-consuming evil. Iran is currently showing precisely why he was right. If Iran wasn't strong enough, if enough Iranians refused to fight, the Iranian people would be destroyed by Israel and the United States. The same way white Westerners are slowly being destroyed by the same entities. Through their strength, intelligence, and most importantly, will to fight, the Iranian nation is successfully defending itself against the Jewish menace. Interesting take. An archaeologist find 2,500-year-old mass grave of infants in Israel. So sounds like Carthage to me. It's just, I guess, another Carthage was there already back then. Of course, I don't know what's the reason for these mass graves there. There might be a good reason there, but American Jewish doctor Craig Spiegel traded drug prescriptions for sex. The court found out he planned to flee to Israel and denied bail. Then he told judge he lost family in the Holocaust as an excuse. The judge laughed and sentenced him to 20 years. Perhaps things are changing for the better. Maybe 10 years ago, he would have been allowed to escape to Israel because Israel is safe haven for sex criminals. Oh yeah, I had a couple of tweets from Korobochka, but posts are protected, so I cannot gain access to his tweets. I wonder who is attacking him this time. So don't remember what sort of information was there. And Cat Kulak says, I want to remind everyone that you can't just kill every politician and public sector employee in a country. It's been done before. It's called Reign of Terror. You just have to be angry enough and throw any priest or moralizer who tells you to stop to the guillotine too. So interesting take. I'm not saying I agree with any of this, but it's like, I guess factually it is true that it can be done. I'm not saying you should do anything like that, certainly not, but interesting thoughts nevertheless. All right, well, we are in the gray zone if this is Israel Delendaest or just gaming and entertainment. But perhaps we will go to gaming and entertainment and like IT and AI stuff. So let's go to the final section of the stream. So this is what kids are doing in Roblox nowadays, making Netanyahu and Trump very warm in, with the help of an oven and then the soap coming out. And there's also this, they're taking people to somewhere. There's a guy with mustache and are these shower rooms. Very interesting. And oh yeah, then there's Stephen Colbert co-writing new Lord of the Rings movie. The film will come after Lord of the Rings: Hunt for Gollum, which is currently in development from director Andy Serkis. First of all, who wants to see Hunt for Gollum? It sounds like a terrible idea for a movie, and what's the credentials of Stephen Colbert to write a Lord of the Rings movie? Like there shouldn't be any Lord of the Rings movies. Period. Like even if it was somebody who respects Tolkien and his heritage, and I really doubt Colbert would respect it. Like it still wouldn't be good or anything. Sequel to the movie Lord of the Rings trilogy is officially in the works. Plot synopsis: 14 years after the passing of Frodo, Sam and Merry and Pippin set out to retrace the first steps of their adventure. Isn't this like Freeren? Meanwhile, Sam's daughter Eleanor has discovered a long buried secret and is determined to uncover why the War of the Ring was very nearly lost before it even began. Stephen Colbert is co-writing the script. Just no, please no. And woke female-led Lord of the Rings sequel from Stephen Colbert in development at Warner Bros. Following the prequel Hunt for Gollum comes Shadows of the Past, continuation of the main story centered on Sam's daughter Eleanor. Just why? And of course, Tolkien, I think this is sort of paraphrased quote, but still, very relevant. Evil cannot create anything new. It can only corrupt and ruin what good forces have invented or made. And look who is writing the new Lord of the Rings movie. So it's Colbert, because I confuse these, TV comedians who is who, and it's the Vax propaganda guy is Stephen Colbert, because I don't think I've ever watched his program or anything. And kids are addicted to the Five Nights at Epstein's game, and they're playing it on school laptops. This isn't some underground game; it's spreading fast through schools. Students are playing during class on district-issued laptops right under school nose. This isn't a normal game set on Epstein Island. Real names tied to the case. Actual DOJ photos used in game. Kids are treating it like entertainment. Parents are finding out after their children have already seen it and can't unsee it. Schools claim they've blocked it, but students bypassing filters in seconds with VPNs and proxy sites. So this isn't one-off. It's a system failure happening in real time. This is what kids can access at school. What else are already getting through? But this sounds like a good thing. That clearly, the society and adults cannot protect children from Epstein and people like that, but they're learning about the realities of life themselves. So this sounds like a good thing. As far as I know, there's no actual explicit materials in the game. It's just, images of people like Epstein and others who visited the island, sort of playing the part of monsters in the game. So schools are now working to block a viral new game called Five Nights at Epstein's that is spreading quickly among students in US schools. The game is a dark parody of Five Nights at Freddy's. Players try to survive 5 nights on Jeffrey Epstein's island while avoiding attacks from Epstein and other figures. So I think this sounds like a great idea. Like, good for kids. Anyway, then World of Warcraft will introduce official Pride events according to Data Miner. So Darkspear Dash was first official Pride event coming in patch 12, whatever. World of Warcraft is adding its first official Pride event called Darkspear Dash. Spear, oh my god, just spearing you from behind. The event raises money for LGBT Trevor Project. Graham says, adding Pride events to WoW just for screens is not considered cool anymore, never was. It feels like cheap corporate pandering, virtue signaling. It is 100% of the time just embarrassing. Yeah, it's like, there's of course many reasons why to oppose this, but I think the most obvious one is like, this is a LGBT and the rainbow flag and all that stuff is a real world thing. It's something that is from the real world. Like why don't they celebrate Easter and Christmas and Ramadan and the Finnish Independence Day or whatever? Like why aren't they part of the World of Warcraft as well? Like why don't they celebrate like a Black Friday? Like you shouldn't. It's a freaking fantasy game about fantasy stuff. Why are they bringing this stuff into it? Like of course it's obvious because my message and all that stuff, but that's not how it should be. I'm not sure like how well. I think Rumble is working really crappily today. I see like the connection is sort of flaky on Rumble. Anyways, and Blizzard supports pedophilia. So the Trevor Project, leftist gender and gender sexuality organization, is targeting children as young as 13 years old with social media advertisements that encourage them to join internet forums where they can discuss sex and other intimate topics with unknown adults. Young America's Foundation investigation revealed. Yeah, certainly. Like you should not be supporting Blizzard. You shouldn't be supporting Blizzard regardless, but especially after this one. New York AG Attorney General Letitia James, who is suing Valve over loot boxes in Counter-Strike 2 and other games, has been referred to the DOJ for alleged homeowners' insurance fraud on 2 properties. The referrals were filed by a Trump administration official on March 25th. So yeah, no surprise that she's crooked because she's allegedly works for the Rothschilds. And Nashville Predators new profile pic. So the NHL's first gay hockey team is called Predators. Appropriate. And Europe, 12 tons of Kit Kat and the truck transporting them were stolen while in transit from central Italy on the way to Poland. Why the fuck did somebody steal 12 tons of Kit Kat products? What's the purpose? Well, yeah, lots of Kit Kats. I'm not the biggest fan of Kit Kats, but if it was free, sure. So I genuinely think it was full of drugs. Yeah, it's possible it was something like that. And GB Review says, we won against censorship today. Subscribestar has told payment processors to fuck off and decided to add more forms of payments to go around them. This means lolly, furry, and other forms of icky fiction will be allowed to be uncensored. Guess that's good overall. Not a fan of furry stuff. The FTC chairman sent warning letters to PayPal, Stripe, Visa, and MasterCard. They can no longer deny services to legal businesses, including anime and adult content creators. This follows Trump's order against unfair debanking. So, perhaps Trump is doing some good at least. Even overall, I wouldn't say he's doing good, but I guess that sounds good. A new currency had to dethrone the USD as a global standard currency. So, this is euro, but I guess euros like this would be an improvement if they look like this. Nikita Beer of Twitter said, starting Thursday, we'll be updating our revenues sharing incentives to better reward the content we want on X. We'll be giving more weight to impressions from your home region to encourage content that resonates with people in your country and the neighboring countries, people who speak your language. While we appreciate everyone's opinion on American politics, we hope this will disincentivize gaming the attention of US or Japanese accounts and instead drive diverse conversations on the platform. We invite creators to start building an audience locally. X will be a much richer community when there's relevant posts for all people in parts of the world. But here it says, the community note, Elon Musk has put this on hold. We will pause moving forward with this until further consideration. I think this is a terrible idea. It wouldn't really affect me anyways on Twitter because nobody sees my tweets anyways, but it's like, I'm Finnish and I live in Hong Kong, so I don't talk much about Hong Kong issues, occasionally, but not really. And I won't talk about, global stuff. And that definitely includes America because that's, still the most influential country in the world, at least, on the surface. Because that affects the rest of the world, what America does. Like, if they start a major war, like, is going on right now. So it's like, why are they like, this is the fucking internet. They should be allowing people around the world to discuss matters that they found relevant. Like, I don't want to talk about, Hong Kong people about Hong Kong issues or whatever they talk. And I don't speak much Chinese or anything and can write even less. So I think, I understand that there are some like Pakistani accounts and stuff that pretend to be American patriots or whatever. Sure, I get that, but still. So X was going to change their monetization program to emphasize local content. For example, if content is about US politics, to get paid, it would need to be from a US or neighbor. The Elon realized that all MAGA is based in Nigeria, Pakistan, and Eastern Europe. I guess. But it's like if you're English and you talk about American politics, like, no, you cannot monetize it because you're not American. Doesn't make any sense to me. So monetization post, yeah, this guy is Jim Ninja. It's true, X is demonetizing third worlders of posting geopolitical content they don't like. This happened to me. No email, no explanation, just demonetized. I'm guessing it's because of that post I said Trump should send Barron to Iran. It got 7.5 million views, and I was nuked immediately after that. Listen to my my fellow third worlders. Don't post pro-Iran content if X payouts are your only source of income. I think this guy is from like Kenya or something. Yeah, Kenya, it says here. Never heard of him before, but like, yeah, I wouldn't expect most Kenyans to say anything relevant, but perhaps there are some Kenyans who actually have insightful takes that aren't just content farming, and I don't think they should be penalized. So why can't this Manmohan Singh, I guess Indian, why can't I reply to Nikita's posts? Has he restricted his replies to India, South Asia? If so, that's racist and unacceptable as the head of Global App. I guess, yeah, that makes sense that it's, if he is, works for Twitter and trying to make Twitter better, he shouldn't block people, like, I guess individuals, if they're being abusive, that makes sense, but like whole regions or something. And yeah, he says, don't show me a post if I can't reply to it. If a user has restricted me to reply to their post based on my region or my follower status, then X should not show me their post on my timeline. What's the point of seeing post if you can't reply to it? It's similar to an account that has blocked me. I can view their post but can't interact with them. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a few weeks, but a few weeks ago I did see some posts like, okay, and then I would try to reply and it said they're blocked. Like, yeah, why show it to me? Am I missing something here? There can be 100 ways to counter bots. This is not the smartest one. Yeah, exactly. Like, all these memes like, yeah, block India and yeah, you're free to block India, but it's possible some Indians still say some things that make sense. A man stabbed a female worker at the Pokemon Center in Tokyo. He then stabbed himself and both died in the hospital. The Pokemon company said the store will stay closed for now. They want to help the police and take care of their staff's health. So yeah, I don't know if they're like, jealous ex-boyfriend or whatever happened, but yeah, no idea what happened. Elder Scrolls Blades announces it's shutting down on June 30th. Until all items in the store are essentially free, so if you were even slightly curious, this may be the easiest window to experience everything you can. So it's some, Elder Scrolls card game, I believe. And so it's going to be another dead game. And I think, there's a store, so presumably some people have used real money to buy products, and now their money will be stolen if they cannot use those products anymore. So yeah, this should be illegal. And of course, even if the game sucks, you should be able to play it like, 50 years from now. RPG Maker adding new Octopath presentation style. That's pretty exciting. So in its first major visual overhaul ever, RPG Maker will soon let you make games in the style of Octopath Traveler. Yeah, it looks cool. That's very interesting. But like some people pointed out that this has been a feature in RPG Maker for like 2 decades at least. Like you just have to play with the scripts and stuff. But if they make it easier for retards like me, then that's probably a good thing. This is some Yandere game. So Yandere virus that is for people. Like one of them is a Yandere and chasing after their friends and stuff. Like so semi co-op game might be interesting. Crimson Desert has changed the name of companion cats. They used to be called fat cats, now they're called loafy cats. What the fuck is a loafy? Like loaf of bread? These cats are pets that do not fight but can use armor and collect items. Some players said that this game is now unplayable. Sounds like it. A terrible change. Of course, it has Denuvo that makes it unplayable already, but this makes it even more so. OpenAI is shutting down its AI video platform Sora after it flopped. Disney is now exiting their $1 billion deal with OpenAI. So ADL says AI video tools can be exploited to generate anti-Semitic content at scale. ADL research found that OpenAI Sora in particular generated harmful content for at least 40% of our tests. OpenAI's decision to shut down Sora is a commendable case of a company's acting decisively when blah blah blah. Okay. So Leonardo Joni points out, Jews don't control everything. Sora creates anti-Semitic cartoons. Sora gets shut down. It's anti-Semitic to point out Jews did it. Yeah. And new details from the video generator Sora OpenAI shutdown. It was losing roughly $1 million per day on computing costs. The user numbers had dropped below 500,000 from peak of over 1 million. Disney executives received less than an hour's notice despite ongoing talks for major integration. And the X-Files by Ryan Coogler replaced Mulder and Scully with an Indian man and a black woman. So apparently I've seen this black woman stuff before. Like I wasn't sure if this Indian woman is just, Indian guy is just a meme, but I saw it somewhere else as well. So maybe Mulder will be Mulder, Akshit Mulder or something. And long-rumored Final Fantasy IX remake is on ice at Square Enix. Reliable leaker Nate the Hate says there is no new movement on the project. It remains paused for now. Great news. Stop remaking good games. There's no need to remake Final Fantasy IX. Like, I don't know if it's on PC. I still have like the original PlayStation copy of it or stuff. But like, if emulators are somehow not kosher enough for you, like release it on PC or perhaps some slight remastering visually, but I don't think that's necessary either. Like if there are some bugs, I don't recall encountering any bugs when I played it back in the day. But it's like, sure, you can fix stuff like that, but I don't think it needs any friggin' remake. The ADL launched a leaderboard rating multiplayer games on anti-Semitism protections. Fortnite tops it at 100%, so it means it's 100% non-anti-Semitic, and Counter-Strike 2 and PUBG rank lowest at 0. What the fuck is going on with Rumble? Rumble has been working really badly. But yeah, I've never played any Counter-Strike, but this is like, should I try? They got the perfect marks. The Jewish Anti-Defamation League has ranked CS2 as the game with the least protection for Jewish players. Oh my way. Warhorse Studios employee has been fired from the studio in favor of AI. Max H., who has been working for the studio since 2022 as a translator and editor, talked about his situation on a Reddit post. According to his statement, the manager at Warhorse invited him to a meeting and told him, in an effort to make the company more effective and save finances as of next month, his position at the company would become obsolete in favor of using AI for all the translations going forward. He was fired from Warhorse Studios March 27, 2026 with no more warnings at all. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are it's good news because, Warhorse went full woke with Kingdom Come, Sodomy 2, and, the leftists who love it, they usually really hate AI, so I hope the leftists start eating up the company now, devouring it because of, they went AI. PC Gamer, Too Many Fucking Nazis is the name of a new Steam FPS and coincidentally an accurate description of its Steam community forums. So I guess they're going for some award of making the cringiest game ever or something. Can you make a game Too Many Fucking Small Hats? Let's just put it that way. I wonder if that's allowed on Steam. New horror game. So this is Hunter the Reckoning game, Death Wish. I fucking hate the way this is phrased here because they don't start with new Hunter the Reckoning game. I guess they have no idea what is Hunter the Reckoning, and it's in the World of Darkness tabletop RPG series like Vampire the Masquerade or Changing the Dreaming. Those were actually I like Vampire Dark Ages more, the medieval version, but yeah, Changeling and Vampire were my favorites back in the day. And there is at least 100 the Reckoning game already on PlayStation 2 and Xbox, I think. Anyway, described as a deep RPG inspired by Baldur's Gate 3 and Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Baldur's Gate 3, are you going to be able to fuck bears or something? But, from Tay on the studio behind Robocop Rogue City, well, that's supposedly a decent game. I haven't played it. Gritty open-ended action RPG set in modern-day New York City. But okay, if it's modern day, that doesn't sound appropriate because, like, according to, World of Darkness lore, there basically should have been an apocalypse, like, in the early 2000s. I think that it should be set in, like, the late 90s or something, or early 2000s. It focuses on the investigation and preparation phases of hunt before the actual combat. So I'm sort of curious to see if it's going to be any good. Overwatch co-creator Jeff Kaplan says The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is the greatest game ever made. No. So there's one that's the best. It's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Nintendo is the mecha. They're the best. If it's from Nintendo, it's going to be great. This is like pure slop NPC subhuman thinking. Like, Breath of the Wild was okay, but it's like I have the game. I have a Switch. I didn't pay anything for the Switch itself. I got it as a present back in the day, but it's like I don't know if it was an okay game, but I didn't finish. At some point, I just got tired of it because that's most of the Nintendo slop. Like it's too generic. Like it's entertaining for a while, but then it gets dull. You know, I don't think it's a bad game, but it's certainly not the greatest game ever made. Like, no, you fucking retard. A former Nintendo marketing lead says Nintendo is absolutely furious. Well, that's good about recent leaks. The leak claims Zelda Ocarina of Time remake and new Star Fox game are coming on Switch 2 this year. Yeah, more remakes. Yay. I guess Star Fox, if it's a new Star Fox game and it's good for Star Fox fans. I've never played the, original Star Fox or anything, so. UK finds a rare albino squirrel after mistaking it for a plastic bag. I've never seen one in my life before. Maybe it's Ratatosk? Peanut, yes, that's the name that they used to call me. Peanut the Grey, that was my name. I'm Peanut the White, and I come back to you at the turn of the tide. Of course, Peanut was the squirrel that was murdered in New York. Was it like a year and a half ago or already or something? And Dreadmore has been announced. Dark first-person fishing adventure set in a flooded post-apocalyptic world. Seems interesting. Fishing horror game is a genre that for some reason appeals to me. But the name confuses me. Why is it a moor if it's about fishing? Whatever, that's it. That's the last news of the week. So, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I'm Adventure Argonaut. I thank you for watching and bye-bye.